Hello, everyone. I am Julianne Meyer, now Macuris, but we will still thinking about changing it. I haven't 100% decided. It's kind of like one of those things where do I change all the branding or not? And I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are. So message me, let me know what you think, because I like to hear everybody's opinion and sort of decide from there, because maybe there's something I haven't thought of yet. But anyway, I'm excited. Today's guest, we have been talking for a while, and the whole getting married thing put me off on like a vacation. But we're back now, and I have this amazing guest for you guys today. Her name is Katie Draznin. Let's welcome her. Hello, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. I'm so glad that we finally got to have this second conversation, because it has been a long time coming. And I don't know if you know this, but like all this stuff happened since we last talked. So I'm so glad you reached out to me again, because you are up to some amazing things. And I just want to jump right into the conversation, if you don't mind.
Okay, let's do it.
So I had the privilege and honor of speaking with you privately, but not everybody knows everything about you yet. Not that we can know everything about you, but I would love for you to share a bit about yourself and what you do, how you show up in the world.
Yeah, like Julie said, I'm Katie, and I am an author, a coach, a speaker, a publisher. I primarily help people create a healthy relationship with fear. That is what I do in my coaching business. It's what I do in my life in general, even with like my publishing clients. That's what we're like end up doing is when they come to me and they're like, I have this story, but I don't know how to tell it. Like we get to work through the fear and like put this amazing book out there. It's what I do in my own life, in writing and in speaking. It's constantly something that shows up. And so I'm just helping people realize and create their dreams by creating a different relationship with their fear.
I love that. And fear, here's the thing, like we're all aware of normal fears, maybe spiders, for example,
Yeah.
or losing jobs and loved ones. I mean, all these normal types of fears that people just automatically expect. But it's been my experience, I'm curious what your thoughts are, that fear can actually be super tricky and show up like in a sneaky sort of way where you don't even recognize it at first as fear.
Mm-hmm. That's actually my favorite part about working with fear. So I'm the type of person that I don't like everything to be the same all the time. I think that's the ADHD. However, I love that it's different for every single person. Like two people can come to me with a fear of failure and they're manifesting differently in their life because the way your fear manifests is based on your experiences throughout your life, primarily your experiences before the age of 6. So it looks different for everybody. So I can help one person create one relationship with their fear of failure and another person a completely different relationship because it's different.
I love that, because, fear is fear, but it, like you said, it shows and manifests in so many different ways. And I'm curious too, are there things that people, or behaviors, that's a better way to put it, behaviors that you see in people that maybe they don't recognize as being fear-based? And what I mean, for example, for me, when I start to procrastinate, I realize there's something I'm afraid of.
Yes. Well, for many people that is true. For people like myself who are ADHD, that's just part of the territory. Like we are motivated by urgency. But I think the biggest one is like playing the comparison game, like comparing yourself to other people, like constantly. Mine was I was working a job I hated. I wanted to be traveling the world, and I would scroll through Instagram, and like the conversation was, someone like me doesn't get to live that life. Like that was the conversation. I was comparing what I had and where I was to other people. But in reality, it was my fear that was not allowing me to dream the possibility that that could happen. And it did. Like, I was able to travel the world. I still travel the world.
I
And
love that.
the second one, I would say, is self-sabotage. Like,
Mhm.
the constant, like, if you find yourself in a state where you're constantly in a cycle of self-sabotage, where you're like good for a while and then you do something, or maybe don't even realize that you're doing something that like sets you back,
Mhm.
that is the cycle of fear.
That makes a lot of sense to me, especially in the entrepreneurial world. I think that
Yes.
there's a lot of that.
Yes. And I work with a lot of entrepreneurs. So a
Yeah.
lot of them come to me and they're like, I was doing so well. And then I did this thing. And now I'm back to square one.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's like the same story for them. And so we get to sit down and we get to look at, like, okay, why did you make that choice? Like, why did you choose to do that instead of this other thing that would have set you up for success? And it's like, well, I didn't know what the outcome would be. Like, this way, like, I knew, like, at least part of the possibility. Like, I could see. So it's like fear of the unknown.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's even fear of success. It's like, I knew that would be, like, I wasn't ready for it or something along those lines. So it's like so many different fears come up when you're making choices. And when the fear is too big, sometimes we choose the choice that deep down we know isn't going to be the right one because it's too safe or is going to sabotage what we've already created.
You know, I think you bring up a really good point that a lot of people don't realize. It's kind of like, well, why would I choose that? But it's kind of for me, and I'm speaking for myself. I've noticed that sometimes I do these self-sabotaging behaviors because it's yeah, I know but I know the outcome. It might
Yeah.
not be the outcome I want, but that somehow feels safer because I know how to navigate that.
Yeah. And it doesn't take you outside your comfort zone because you've already experienced it. I've done the same things in my, like, so I meant, like, briefly mentioned that I just hired someone to help me with LinkedIn in my business because I was avoiding it. And like, I knew it was what I needed, but I was like, I don't know what that looks like. It's like an extra, like, money, like extra money out that, like, I have to figure out where that's going to come from. And so for a long time, the choice was, I'm not going to hire someone. I'm just going to figure out how to do it on my own. And the reality is I don't have time to figure it out. Like, I don't have the capacity to figure it out, nor do I have, like, I don't have any desire to figure out how to use LinkedIn. But I was constantly, like, shooting myself in the foot in my business, making the easy choice to just do it myself, when now I hired someone, they're taking care of it. I don't have to worry about it at all. And I'm seeing more appointments on my calendar. Like, it's kind of like, why didn't I just do that in the first place? But, like, the unknown of not knowing what the outcome would be,
Mhm.
even though I knew that me doing it myself wasn't going to create what I wanted.
Exactly. And I get that too, especially as an entrepreneur, because it's like, okay, for me, I'm going to use my example because I just recently got off a phone call with a website designer because I know how to create a website. I'm artistic too, so like I could do that.
Yeah.
However, if you went to my website, it wouldn't look like it. It's like a Frankenstein, like I just kept on adding stuff onto it. And it is awful. And I really need to just start from scratch. And so I've been talking about making this new website for about a year now. Have I done it? No. And it's like, but I could do it myself. And but I don't want to.
Right. And sometimes that comes down to it too. And you tell yourself, oh, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And really, it's like, if you would just, like, and this, I use you in, like, a generalized way. It's like, if we would just make the choice to step out of our comfort zone
Mhm.
and like do something that kind of scares us a little bit, that we don't know what the outcome is going to be, and like let go of the control of it all,
Mm-hmm.
like beautiful and amazing things happen.
Exactly, because that's the other part of it is here I am thinking, okay, how much am I going to spend on this person building this out for me, and are they going to have the same results that I'm going to have? Well, obviously they're not, because they're actually going to do it, but that doesn't even factor into my thought process.
Yeah. No, it's so true. It's so true. Yeah. If you would have looked at my LinkedIn like a month ago, I had maybe like 400 connections, and like I never sent messages out. Today
Mhm.
you open it and I have like, I don't even know how many connections, but like you open up my messages and I'm like, I like, thank God, like someone has this all systematized. Like I don't know,
Mhm.
but like there's a system in place, because I don't even know what's happening here. And that's okay. Like, I don't need to know, like, as long as like it's happening.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly, exactly. So I can imagine too, when it comes to this added level of creativity, like writing a book,
Mhm.
where there's a sense of vulnerability added into it as well, where are people going to like it? Will it sell? Is this, is what I have to say important? I mean, all these self-doubt things that come up too, just in general. I mean, it takes a lot of courage to
Oh,
create
100%.
something.
Yeah, totally. Like, I always tell everyone that I like work with on like writing a book, and a lot of my clients, like in my coaching business, end up writing books as well. But like, I always tell them that like your book is your baby. Like,
Mhm.
it's like giving birth. Like, I mean, I'm not a parent, but like I'm have 7 amazing nieces and nephews. I I know what that baby is like, and I would
Mhm.
do anything for any one of them. And
Yeah.
that's like, your book is like this like thing that you're putting out into the world for everybody to like critique and judge and like look at. And that's probably one of the most vulnerable things, especially if you're writing a book about your story. And I am a
Mhm.
proponent of everybody has an important story to tell, even if it's just one person you're helping with your story.
Exactly. And I don't know if I mentioned this to you, and a lot of the people who are viewing, if they've watched, they know my story a little bit, but I come from an addiction background, and I was, I almost died from my alcohol consumption. And the thing is it's not something I'm proud of, and I never want to talk about it, but I always do, because there's somebody out there that needs to know, first of all, that they don't need to have shame,
Mhm.
because somebody else has done it too. And it does not define who I am. So it does not have to define who they are either. So I love this idea of actually being okay with and willing to put these things out there. And it doesn't have to be negative. It could be something that's really special to you too, which is just as
Absolutely.
scary, because you
Uh-huh.
don't want somebody to crap on that.
Right. No, like that's so true. Like, it doesn't have to be a negative thing, but also like I don't necessarily think that like talking about addiction is a negative thing. Like, it was an experience that
Yeah.
happened in your life, and like at the time it wasn't so great, but like it's not good or bad. Like, it just is something that happened in your life.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I'm super open with every like my entire like story, because I'm like, I want people to know that I'm a real human, and that like I'm not just this expert who's like, I'm an expert therefore I don't feel fear. Like, I'm not a robot. Like, I have experienced things in my life. Like, I talk about eating disorder. Like, I talk about some really heavy topics, like
Mhm.
in my first book, and even in my second book. Like, I talk about, like, even on social media, like really hard things that nobody is really talking about. And I'm really open too about like my mental health journey, and like having a late diagnosis of ADHD. Like, it's real life and it's happening around us. And I think if we're not willing to like be open about that, then there are people that are missing out on like benefiting from what you have to say. Like, there could be someone who you can help just by saying like, hey, you're not alone. Like, I was
Mhm.
there.
Exactly. And I love that you share these things because there's such a stigma attached to so many different things. And here's the thing that like it maybe is a little bit different for me is where I live. And where
Mm.
I live is in Orange County.
Yes.
Orange County, California. And as they say, I live behind the orange curtain, and I am not kidding. For those of you who have no idea what it is like in Orange County, it is the land of plastic people, and it's
Yes.
the land of appearance. You have to look a certain way, be a certain way, have a certain sort of wealth. Whether or not it's true, that's how you are supposed to appear in order to fit in.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I started a nonprofit with a friend. Now it's like almost 7 years ago now, but we did a lot of work with Chalk Children's Hospital. So I have a little bit of experience with the land of the plastic people.
I mean, it's a little disturbing. I'm not, it's just so whitewashed. It's like, and for those of you who are watching, it's kind of like people with human filters on, you know?
It is. It's so crazy. Like, yeah,
It's
it's kind
weird.
of insane.
It is not a realistic snapshot. And if you live here, it sort of becomes your normal. And it's so bizarre to thank goodness I have lived multiple other places and this is not where I've been born and raised. So I know, but but my goodness, you know, there's just there can be a stigma is what I was going with this whole
Yes.
part of the conversation. So being able to share these things, especially, you know, for people say in Orange County that are online or reading or, you know, going to a conference, being able to hear a story from somebody like you, somebody like me, who is willing to share the good, the bad, everything, then they're like, oh my gosh, maybe it's okay for me to be human.
Yeah, for sure. And then they're like, wait, I don't have to be ashamed of this thing. Like, I can just like acknowledge it and like move through it instead of like holding on to the shame and the guilt,
Keep it secret.
which creates fear because it's like, oh my God, I'm afraid I'm going to be found out. Like I'm afraid someone's going to figure it out that I don't have my shit together 100% of the time.
Exactly. Oh, I love that. I think anybody, at least to varying degrees, experiences that. So on that note, though, we do need to go to a commercial break. So we're going to be back in just a moment. And for those of you who are watching us live, thank you so much for being here. We totally appreciate that. When we come back, we are going to talk about Katie's exciting new project that is coming out very, very soon. And I can't wait to share with you guys because this is, you know, she's talking about writing books. I don't want to give it all away. So we're going to go to a commercial break and we'll be right back after these messages.
When drug or alcohol addiction take over, things begin to disappear. Your friends, your family, and eventually, you. Recommended by Dr. Phil, New Method Wellness can help get your life back with individualized treatment plans for dual diagnosis clients. New Method Wellness provides the most highly credentialed treatment in a safe and welcome environment. Call New Method Wellness for your free consultation and ask about our national accreditations. Together, we can put the pieces back together.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's bring our guest Katie back to the show. Welcome back. So glad to have you here today. And I just love this topic of fear because, the thing that I find so hilarious about it is that's another thing that we're supposed to not even admit we have.
Yes.
Everyone has fear.
Everyone. You know why? It's because of those fear acronyms, like fear is false evidence appearing real. Like
Yes.
that is like those, they need to go away. I don't like them. Like as someone who like works in this space and like works with people about their fear, like admitting that you have fear is like the first step to creating a better relationship with your fear. Like,
Yeah.
without being able to acknowledge, like there's power in acknowledging that you have fear.
Exactly. It's kind of like accepting all of you instead of trying to make some parts of you wrong and change it. If you could just accept yourself, and this is, your emotions, your thoughts, your feelings, all of these things, it takes the sting out of it, and you can change your relationship with it so much easier than trying to make yourself wrong for experiencing it.
That's what those acronyms do, is like they make you wrong for feeling fear, but then they don't tell you how to like change it. Like they don't tell you how to like overcome it or create like a better relationship with it. It's just like you're wrong, end of story. Yeah, which is why I created my own acronym, because I'm like, people need to know how. Like if you can create a better relationship, like they need to know how, not just like you're wrong.
Exactly. It's like this whole idea of change your paradigm. Okay. First of all, what's a paradigm?
Yeah, that's like all these words that are in this like personal development space. It's like, why don't we just break it down and make it like super simple for people? Like
Uh-huh.
that's why people like I'm like heavily involved in like personal development, like seminars and trainings, and like people look at it as like a cult, and I'm like, it's because of how we're marketing.
It is. It totally is. I'm like, you know what? Talk to me like I'm a toddler. Give me action steps, don't just talk to me about, like changing my reality. That's all fine and dandy and changing my relationship, but what does that mean?
Right. Exactly. It's like, tell me how. Like, don't just tell me to change it. Like, tell me, or like give me examples of how I can start changing it.
Exactly. And my favorite one is, and this is just like a side note, it's like meditation. Okay, great. I'm supposed to do it every single day. Well, how?
Right.
What if I literally I'm coming out of my skin, sitting there, in in the lotus position or whatever. Like,
My legs don't even go in that position.
I know, like, I'm sorry, my legs don't do that. My back is killing me. Like,
Yeah, like there's, and like if people knew that like you don't have to be like, you could just be sitting down in a chair, you can even be laying down in bed. Like I do my meditation before I get out of bed in the morning and before I go to sleep at night. Like
exactly. There's other ways. It's like, it would be nice to know all these different ways that you could, I don't know, work with it. Like, there's not one, and this is it, and it has to be 20 minutes twice a day, and you have to,
yes.
none of that business. So that's why I think what you do working with fear is really cool, because, like you said, it's different for everyone. I mean, the idea is the same, but you take into consideration each person's personality, where they're coming from, how they've, been programmed, all those fun words.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. It all starts from like, and I don't do it in like a therapy where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, like your past is what created today. It's like, no, it's like we get to look at the past so we can move forward. But from the sense of like, majority of people in the world are operating as 6-year-olds, because like 96% of our programming was created before the age of 6. So it's like, how do we figure out what happened before the age of 6 so we can create a new story and a new relationship.
Exactly. And then that's where the, writing comes in too. I mean, our memories aren't exactly accurate anyway. So why don't we create our own memories? It's something that serves us. I'm not saying, you have to rewrite everything, but,
Yeah.
I'm already telling myself a story. So I might as well make it useful to me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's like, and the thing is it's like that might not have been exactly what happened, but like that's what you remember and that's the story that you created. So
Exactly.
that's what matters in
Mhm.
moving forward. It doesn't matter if someone else remembers the story differently. Like my brother
Yeah.
and I grew up in the same household. If you asked us about like our childhood, we would give you two completely different stories. Like, because we're two completely different people.
Exactly. So before the commercial break, I kind of
Okay.
alluded to this project that's coming out on
Yes.
October 3rd, and I would
October
love you to
3rd.
share all about this because this is exciting.
Yes. I'm really excited about it. So my first book came out, man, 2021. So it's been like 2 years since my first book. I have been working on book number 2 for the last year and a half. And it started from, so I was a member of a Toastmasters group for a while. And I wrote a speech for Toastmasters and everybody fell in love with it. It was called One Swipe Away. And it was basically my story through finding love and like my journey to finding like my person.
Wow.
And all of the not so great guys that I have met along the way, but how each person like gave me a gift and
Mhm.
taught me something about myself that has allowed me to like stand tall as this whole and complete woman ready to find her perfect match.
I love that. And I am a sucker for stories, especially true, because that is like,
Yes.
I love that because it's real. It's like, it just shows possibility. And, the fact that you're sharing how you're able to take the positive experience out of things that maybe weren't so great,
Yeah.
that's a pretty impressive thing to do. Not a lot of people, I don't happen to be friends with people like this too much anymore. However, when I was younger, it used to be, oh, he's such a jerk. Or, now it's
Mhm.
like, okay, yeah, you just weren't a good match. Or,
Yeah.
those were bad choices.
Yeah. And in my story, like I preface it that there's some traumatic experiences that I've experienced.
Mhm.
And like I talk about them in the book, like in vivid detail of like what I remember. But it's like despite like the trauma that happened, there's always something to be gained on the other side of it. And it's that piece that like I get to take away from each experience. And that's not to say that every guy in my book is a bad person. I'm
Yeah.
still really good friends with a couple of them. Like they're like I consider them family. So it's like it doesn't have to be a negative experience, but it's
Mhm.
like this was my experience and it didn't feel so great in the moment and I didn't know what I would get. Like I start the book as like 12-year-old Katie. So it's
Mhm.
like that girl was definitely like, oh, they're such a jerk. Like he's so mean. Like, how could he treat me that way? But like at the end of the day, it's like he didn't know any better. He was 12 too. Like
Yeah. Exactly. And I love that you are able to share this traumatic stuff because things happen, and it's like for me, like, and I don't know if I told you about this, but I've had 4 serious relationships as an adult, and I'm married to the 4th one, and the other 3 have all passed away. So it's like, that is traumatic. And
It
that,
is.
like to be in this relationship now, there's this fear, or there was. I've worked through a lot of, I mean, it still rears its ugly head. It's not like it's gone forever.
Because
But
fear doesn't go away. It's just how
doesn't
you're,
go away.
yeah.
But I'm able to recognize it faster, see it for what it is, and breathe into it, and just be like, "Thank you for being there." But that's not serving me right now, or whatever, or I'll whatever the case may be. Like, and now I will use my fears to show me that I may be missing something that I don't want to look at.
Yeah.
So
That's a beautiful way to put it. It's like, but that's exactly what it is. It's like, I, for a long time, like struggled with like the fear of like both being loved and being alone at the same time because of my experience.
Mhm.
And like, that's like a really weird dichotomy to like battle, because it's like, how can you be afraid of being loved and being alone at the same time?
It's like, come here, stay away.
Like, I want to be loved, but I also like am terrified of it.
Yes, I can relate.
Yeah, and it wasn't until I was willing to like really look at like, why was that? Like, why am I so afraid of like afraid of being loved was an easier question than like to answer than the being alone part of it. But like, when I was like really able to like look at it and say, okay, these are the reasons, but then I was like, okay, but what do I have? Which is an exercise that like I have my clients do all the time when they're like, I'm terrified to go through this, like, and I'm like, but you've already done it. And they're like, but I'm so afraid, like, what if it doesn't work out this time? And I'm like, well, take an inventory. There's another like personal development word. It's like, take an inventory of like all of the wins that like prove that it's going to work. Like, so that's like what I got to do, was like take an inventory of like all the things that I had in my life that would like, that I gained from all of my experiences that would help me be this whole and complete person for whoever happens to be my Prince Charming.
I like that. So what's the name of your book?
It's called One Swipe Away.
That's right. Thank
you.
you.
Yes. One Swipe Away, How Dating in the 21st Century. I don't remember the rest of that, but one swipe away is the important part.
That is the important part. And it's so like appropriate for now.
It is. And like, there's a whole chapter dedicated to like the online dating, like part of my journey, which is still part of my journey. But like, those experiences are probably like the like funny part of the book. Like, they're so comical. And I'm like, do other people experience like Bumble dates like this? Because this is like next level.
It's fascinating too, because I like this idea too, because there's hope in the title.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that book by Napoleon Hill Foundation, 3 Feet from Gold. You don't know what's right around the corner.
100%. Absolutely. And the thing is like, this book is about me. Like, it's not even about like, yes, you get to experience like my history in dating, but at the end of the day, it's like the last sentence of the book is like, I can confidently stand in my, like, as myself, knowing that I'm whole and complete for whatever man that comes my way. Like, that's what it's about. It's like, I got all of these gifts, like I call them gifts, even in the like worst chapters of the book. Like, I still have a gift that I received from whatever man or boy was on the other side of that gift. And those are what created me, like who I am.
Exactly. That's the thing too. It's like people don't understand. And I always use my mom as an example because my mom passed away when I was 14. She passed away in front of me. She
Mm.
had cancer, so it wasn't like an accident or anything, but I was literally there when she passed
Yeah.
away. And yeah, I wish it would have been different, but I wouldn't change it either,
Hmm.
because just the gift of who I became because of that experience, I would not change that. I wouldn't want to
Right.
change. I wouldn't want to go through it. I didn't choose that.
Yes, exactly.
but
Yeah.
but I appreciate the gifts that came from it. So I understand 100% what you mean by that, where you can still find those gems in these things that are so painful and so traumatic, and all these things that you would never consciously be like, oh, I'm gonna go experience this today.
Exactly. Yeah, like I think the most surprising for people is so about 7 years ago, I was actually raped, and it was a very traumatic experience. I mean, because it is traumatic
Yeah.
in and of itself. However, all of the work, like personal development work that I've done on myself, is all from like the come from of responsibility. Now, I'm not responsible for like him taking my choice away. Like, I will never, in
Yeah.
that regard, like I was a victim.
Mhm.
However, I know that I'm responsible for every choice that I made that led up to that moment, that put
Mhm.
me in that situation. I'm responsible for all of those choices. But what I didn't realize, um, and it was in writing this book and finding, I don't know if you've ever done tapping, but like finding tapping, like that, like I had this block around it. And because, like, for the longest time, I thought the gift that that gave me was responsibility. But
Mhm.
the gift that that experience gave me was forgiveness, because it's like, I know that I'm responsible for all the choices I made that led up to that moment that put me there. But
Mhm.
I never forgave myself for making those choices. So, like,
Yeah.
forgiving myself for making those choices and putting myself there, that was like this huge, like, thing for me. And so, like, that was ultimately the gift that that experience gave me. And when I tell people that, they're like, how could you get forgiveness from it? And I'm like, it's not about forgiving him.
Yeah.
It's about forgiving myself. Like, that's ultimately what it is.
That's beautiful. There's this, I'm all about taking responsibility too. Heck, the name of the show is Own Your Wellness, like
Yeah.
own it. And there was an analogy that was used, and I love it because it's so simple and it's so easy. And this made it like easy for me to appreciate my choices and taking responsibility when things happen to me that I don't choose. And it was the idea of, if somebody TPs my yard,
Hmm.
I still have to clean it up.
Right. Exactly. It's like,
It's
yeah,
my yard.
yeah. It's like, I'm responsible for my yard. Like,
I'm
at the end of the
responsible.
day. Like,
Exactly. I'm responsible for that space. And so, yes, I did not choose somebody doing that. But I
right.
still, whether or not it's fair, I
You
still have to clean it up.
exactly.
I love
That's
that
exactly
because
what that is.
it's not fair. It's not cool. It's not, all those things. And that's okay. But I still got to do the work.
Yes.
And I love that. I
Absolutely.
just thought that was such a brilliant way to put it. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's like it literally is like that simple. Like, you don't have to overcomplicate it. Like, that makes it so simple. And that, like, taking responsibility for like the things in your life is kind of like, when you start doing that, it's kind of life changing. Like,
It's empowering.
so empowering,
You're not a victim anymore.
which is exhausting.
It is. It is so tiring being a victim. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, there's times when I feel like I'm on the pity pot and woe is me. Yeah,
I
but
think that's only human,
yeah,
but like
exactly.
you are able to recognize like, okay, it's
I don't
time to
live
get
there.
off. Like, right, you don't
Yeah.
live there. It's like, okay, that was fun for a moment.
Yeah,
Now I'm gonna do like the real stuff. Like,
exactly. Exactly. Oh my goodness, we are a little bit past time for doing our last commercial break. So I'm going to take this moment. We're going to have to go to commercial really quick, but it's going to be a quick
okay.
one, everyone. So we'll be back in just a minute. And for those of you who are watching us on demand, since I had said hello to everybody watching us live, thank you so much for being here. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about what it looks like to work with Katie and continue this conversation about fear because it's so fascinating. And when we can befriend things, it's amazing how much life can get a little bit easier to handle and deal with. So we'll be right back. Gotta love it when technology does not agree with you. Anyway, let's bring our guest Katie back to the show. I don't want to waste another moment. Let's continue this conversation. So you had mentioned before too, but I mean, we have your book coming out October 3rd.
Yes.
And also you help people with this amazing thing in general. This is what you do. So I'm going to pop up your website again as well. What does it look like to work with you?
So there's many different ways that we can work together. I do anywhere from like a 2-hour clarity session together where we just like take a deep dive into like where you're at and what you want to create, do a lot of vision building around that, and like talk about what fears are coming up in the process of creating that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I give you some tools for how you can start working through that fear and create that healthy relationship. You had used the word befriend your fear. That's actually a tool that I teach my clients all the time, is like giving your fear a name and like having a conversation with it as if it were your friend. Like that's a big, not a big part, but it's part of what I do. And it's a big tool that like my clients love. And at first they're like, that's so weird. You want me to talk to like this imaginary thing. And then the feedback I get is like, oh my God, I can't believe I thought that was so weird. I use that tool every day. like just trust. And then the other way is to do one-on-one coaching. And that looks different for everyone. It's kind of tailored to specifically each person. I do start with 6-month offers and go up to a year. It just depends on who the person is and what they're looking to accomplish or looking to do. And while fear is the premise of what I do, I like I do coaching in the sense that I have people come to me who want to start their own coaching business and don't know how to get that off the ground. And so really what comes down to it is like the fear that's behind why they're like standing in the way, why they're unable to create what they're trying to create in any sense of the word. Or I have clients who, I have a current client, and I'm not a money expert, but like, he was like, I just need someone to hold me accountable to like my goals and like in turn help me so that I can save more money. And I was like, okay, let's do it. Because the bottom of it was fear. Like he was afraid of so many different things and was spending money left and right to like cover up or like shield that fear. So it's like people come to me for all different reasons. And my finding is that at the bottom, underneath everything, it starts with fear. So that's why the foundation of what I do is based in fear and courage. But I can help people who want to do pretty much anything or are struggling to do. Yeah. Like if you're struggling with self-sabotage, you're unhappy at work, like you are not excited to wake up every morning, like those are the people that I love to help so much, because I want to help you figure out what's going to like get you excited to get out of bed every morning.
And you should be able to be excited to get out of bed every morning.
Right?
Or more days than not.
Yeah. I mean, we're all human. We all have those days where we're like, I don't want to get up today.
I don't feel like fill in the blank.
My bed is really cozy today.
Yeah, or yeah, I don't feel like, for me, it's, I don't want to people. And it's weird because every time, for me, it's like, it's weird because I'll set up days where I have almost back-to-back things where I'm just constantly talking to new people. And it's almost like I'm afraid to, because I don't know the person, but yet I get excited with every single person that I talk to. So I'm like, what was I afraid of?
I'm like a huge I literally was just having this conversation with one of my best friends the other day. Like, I'm an extrovert. One of my favorite things is meeting new people. However, before like any like social gathering or like meeting where I've never met the person before, like I have all this anxiety and I'm like, are they gonna like me? Like, are they gonna like understand me? Am I gonna be able to talk to anybody? And then I get there and I'm like, this was so fun. I met so many people.
It's that unknown. It's the unknown factor, and that's and here's the funny thing is, I did this summit years back and there were some big names and they were being mean to me. So I thought, you know what? I'm not going to deal with you. And I went and said, I don't think this is a really good fit.
Yeah.
And they instantly backpedaled and it just changed the dynamics because I actually stood up for myself. And it was interesting. Whereas before I might have just been like upset in the background and not said anything.
Right.
But I just thought, you know what? This isn't working for me. I don't care who you are. I don't deserve to be treated this way. This, no harm, no foul. Let's shake and say goodbye.
Yeah. And that's like,
and I'm still friends with these people now, but that never would have happened if I had just, not stood up.
That's yeah. And I think a lot of times people think as well, like, I'm at this level, so like, therefore I can talk to you like I'm at this level. And I'm like, let's just all be equal. Like, we're like I'm never like, I have been known to like meet with someone, like a potential client, and I'll start talking to them and I'm like, know that I'm not the right person for them. Like, and I know that someone else is a better fit for them. And so I will refer them to someone else and they're like shocked. They're like, you're not going to take my business? They're like, I want to hire you. And I'm like, I can help you. However, this person is going to help you even more than I
Mhm.
can help you. And like, because I don't think it's a competition. Like, I think we're just like, we're stronger together than when we are like siloing off into like these individual spaces.
And trying to outdo each other and all this. I'm with you. And
Yeah.
it's so amazing too, because I have gotten so much more business being honest like that because if I'm good at what I do and if
Mhm.
somebody else can help them better than I can, I want them to have the best results because that is the whole point.
Absolutely. Like, and like, that's exactly what the point is. Like, I want them to have like the most amazing experience, create all the things that they want to be creating. And the truth is, I can probably help them do that
Yeah.
because I am really good at what I do.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, like, someone else has a different expertise that they're actually looking for and don't even know that they're looking for. And I think that
Exactly.
that's an abundant mindset. It's
Mhm.
like I don't have to hoard everything. Like, it's going to come my way, and I
Mhm.
can still like send, like, refer people to other people, knowing that there's more where that came from. And
Exactly.
people will refer to me to like, it's a referral system.
It is. It is. It's just universal law. But we are basically out of time. So, is there any last thoughts that you'd love to leave with the audience before we wrap up?
I think the biggest thing is, like, if you're afraid, do it anyways, because your fear's only job is to keep you safe. It doesn't know that it's holding you back from everything that you want to create. And as cliche as it sounds, life really does begin on the outside of your comfort zone.
Amen to that. I love that. And your book is coming out October 3rd. Where can they
October
buy it?
3rd. They can buy it on Amazon on October 3rd, which was my grandmother's birthday, and she taught me how to love. Like, her and my grandfather were married just shy of 70 years when she passed. So
Oh, I love that. That's
I'm
so beautiful. Well, Katie, I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show today. I'm so glad that we got to have this amazing conversation and made it happen because it's been a long time
yes.
coming.
Yes, thank you for having me. This was fun.
It was definitely. And everyone, thank you so much for watching. We will be back later this week. So make sure that you catch us again soon. And until then, enjoy the rest of your week. Bye for now.